Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we are back with Beam Eye Tracker in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and we are revisiting Beam Eye Tracker because version 2.55 just released, and honestly this is probably the biggest update they have ever pushed out. Both fundamental changes on how Beam works, removing dependencies on external software such as OpenTrack, improved performance, and adds a ton of advanced customization features. Stick around to find out more. One app designed to do it all. Hangar Control brings everything together. Control bindings, hardware configuration, mod and profile management, application launching, add-ons, config files, and more, all managed from a single application. Mods Hangar goes beyond just mods and add-ons. It manages profiles, config files, text files, backups, snapshots, and helps keep your community folders clean and organized. Application Hangar launches your entire sim stack with a single click. Your Stream Decks are fully controlled through the Hangar Control plugin, while all of your other Stream Deck plugins remain active and available. Built by a simmer for simmers, Hangar Control adds new features and hardware support every week based on community feedback. It's a one-time purchase with lifetime updates, no subscriptions. You can try it for free for 5 days with no restrictions at overkillsimulations.com. Just create an account, head to your account page, download the latest version, and get started. And if you're looking for in-depth Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft tutorials, check out my Patreon site. Links to Hangar Control and Patreon are down in the description below. Alright folks, so let's get right into it. First we're going to talk about what has changed in version 2.55 after we break down what is Beam Eye Tracker for those who may not be aware. If you are new to Beam Eye Tracker, this is a quick explanation. Beam Eye Tracker is a webcam-based head and eye tracking solution designed primarily for gaming immersion. It allows you to control the in-game camera movements using your head or eye movements without requiring a dedicated infrared hardware. Traditionally, head tracking solutions like TrackIR require infrared emitters, sensors, and different things mounted to both your PC or monitors as well as on your head, whether it be a hat clip or on your headphones, whatever it may be. Beam instead uses computer vision through standard webcams or compatible cameras, such as even your cell phone, to track your head and eye position. That means a lower cost, theoretically easier setup, you're going to see what that looks like today, and far fewer hardware requirements, and again I'm going to say this one twice, much lower cost. And if you guys are interested in Beam Eye Tracker after this video, be sure to use the link down in the description below, and it will help you and me out. I have no shame in hiding that. Alright, so let's talk about the big changes and then we'll go through the configuration. The headline feature of this update is something called Direct Game Camera Control. Previously, Beam relied heavily on OpenTrack to translate tracking data into format a game could understand. This meant that you needed Beam running as well as OpenTrack running simultaneously, which added complexity, added system overhead, though very negligible, and introduced additional configuration steps. With 2.55, Beam integrates OpenTrack components directly into the software, though Beam and OpenTrack can still be used, so you don't have to worry about losing those profiles that you've already created. But this does mean that Beam can now communicate directly with compatible games such as Microsoft Flight Simulator, DCS World, and others, again, without the need for OpenTrack or any other software running. This is a massive usability improvement. Setup is simpler, configuration is cleaner, and there's less software running in the background. For new users, this dramatically lowers the barrier to entry and makes the learning curve significantly smoother. Now, advanced controls and power user features. Beam also has added something called Advanced Immersive Camera Controls, which we're going to be going through. This allows you to individually tune every degree of freedom. Your head roll, head pitch, head yaw, XYZ movement positions, eye tracking both horizontal and vertical, and then users also can now adjust dead zones, responsiveness, movement thresholds, axis inversion, and output limits. Again, we'll be talking about all of that in live action here. Performance improvements include another major, one of the biggest complaints with webcam tracking historically has been jitter and instability, especially during small movements. They have now different settings that you can now adjust in this to sort of smooth things out. They have also implemented CPU optimization and improved power plan behavior, which helps reduce background system impact. The new profile system is also a huge quality of life improvement, as users can now create, duplicate, and share and switch between tracking profiles. Beam also automatically migrates older configuration setups into the new profile format, which is definitely fantastic for existing users if you would like to get off of the OpenTrack necessity. The default profile is optimized specifically for cockpit environments, which obviously is a huge win for flight simulation and racing simulation. Last, the one that I'm going to touch on for this particular segment is hotkey improvements. You can now also bind joysticks, gamepads, steering wheels, flight sticks, arcade controllers, and mouse buttons to control the different camera features, and we'll be talking about that as we go through this. Now, one thing I want to give you guys the heads up is yours truly is actually on the second round of making this video, because on the first one, I did not pay attention to which microphone I had selected, and I still had my big screen beyond microphone selected, which is halfway across the room. So you guys are going to see that some of my settings are already configured, but I'm going to walk you guys through them as if they weren't. So first, let's start going through some of the tabs here. Here is the immersive camera control, but we're going to come back around to this one. Here's the profile settings that they were talking about up here, the ability to add, import, etc. I'm not going to be doing that particular piece today. I'm going to be setting it up as a native control, as if it was for the first time, though again, technically it's my second. But the eye tracking overlay, this is kind of cool. If you want to see exactly how this works, let me show you here. I'm going to move this off the screen. Actually, here, I'll do this first. First, you want to flip it on, then you want to hit save. And then you also need to obviously turn the camera on. Once you heard the turn the tracker on, you guys can see that purple circle moving around. That is the position it is tracking for my eyes. I'm actually going to bring my camera up slightly. There we go. Because I am in a standing position. I'm going to center my camera for a minute, and I'll show you guys how we bind that in a minute. There's the centering. And there you go. So that purple circle indicates everything my eyes are looking at. And what's really weird is I turn it off because I end up doing exactly what I'm doing now, which is following the damn circle. So that's why it bounces all over the place. It's like playing a game of Pong. Anyway, so let's turn that off. Let's hit save because it's going to drive me crazy. Now, you also have, I'm going to turn the camera off for a minute. You also have a productivity and privacy. I'm not going to be going through this particular piece because I don't feel it's particularly beneficial to simmers, but you can actually use this in a production environment, meaning using it as a mouse click and things like that, and mouse tracking. So if you literally wanted it to move your mouse around, this is one of the things that could help you there. Now, you also have privacy filter, which can be nice if you're doing something like dual use for the same webcam. Example, if I had my overlay on from my webcam and OBS, you could be able to see my face, while Beam Eye Tracker was also using it to track the camera movements. If I wanted to blur the camera for any reason, you could do so and fade it in and out if you chose to. So it gives you those options as well. All right, now let's get into the basic controls. So here is, I'm going to clear these out as if it was the first time. These are the default keybinds that come preloaded with the software. Toggle tracker, this literally turns it on and off. Recenter tracking, so exactly what it sounds like, it centers the camera. And then opening the tray window. There is a small tray window that you can open versus opening the large config window here. Toggle mouse jump, again, this goes back to the privacy and productivity. And immersive camera, you have the pause and resume. So for me, the only ones that I'm particularly interested in today is toggle tracker and recenter tracker. So I'm going to simply hit add, and I'm going to press a button on my joystick. So this is for the toggle of the tracker itself. Flip that up. And then to recenter it, I'm going to push a button down. There we go. So now I've got my keybind set. Done there. Coming down to system, you have a couple different system options. If you want it to run at startup, which is set by default, I do not. I always turn this off, which is about every software there is. But the power plan, I do leave at high performance. And then these two, you have your support and feedback. We're not going to go through those. Pretty self-explanatory what those are. So now let's get into the immersive camera. Now, as cool as eye tracking is exactly what you guys saw. You guys saw the camera moving based with the purple circle. You saw as I moved my eyes, the camera would adjust with it. I actually personally don't like eye tracking. Now, that has nothing to do with Beam eye tracker. I didn't like it with Tobii. I don't like it with anything. And I think it's just because I'm an old dog and I came around and TrackIR 4 days and went up to 5, and I've been using head tracking ever since, and it just feels more comfortable for me. Okay, so what I do is I turn camera response to eye movements off. I just take the amplification, set it to 0. If it makes you feel happy for consistency, you can set speed 0, but the amplification line is the one that matters. Now these, however, are a different story. Okay, now this is a very generalized camera response movements for head movements. We want to do this individually. This is the biggest tip I can give you, no matter what software you're using to set this stuff up. When it comes to head and eye tracking, do them one axis at a time. So what I'm going to do here is we do want the link camera position response to head orientation. You can read right there what it does. It basically allows moving your head in the direction your nose points in real time. So that basically what that means is if I want to look over at the radio, I can literally turn it, and if I need to lean into it to see better, I can simply lean in like you normally would, and essentially the camera will zoom or lean the camera towards whatever you're looking at. And you guys will see all that later. So for now, for demonstration purposes, we're going to turn all of these off so that way I can walk you guys through it. You do want FreeTrack 2.0 enabled if you're going to be using things like Microsoft Flight Simulator, DCS World, and I would imagine ATS would be the same thing in many of the other simulators. In most cases, you're going to want FreeTrack enabled. However, there are a couple different options that you have here as far as the required protocol registration. I have not found any need to do that. I simply leave 2.0 on and left it alone. Okay, so let's start with yaw. Like I said, I recommend doing these one at a time, and then once you have that one set, turn it off. Okay, so let's walk through this. I'm going to turn just the yaw movement on. We're going to flip our camera on now, and now it's time to start playing around with this. So you can see how I currently have it set. Like I said, unfortunately this is round 2 for me, but I can show you guys what we did. Max camera rotation. How far, based on your head movement, this is your head movement. How far do I have to turn my head to move the camera? Okay, that's the correspondence here. How far am I rotating my head left and right to get the desired angle rotation of the camera? So if I increase this, for example, I have to turn my head damn near 90 degrees, going almost shoulder to shoulder. But watch, I am still, like, my chin is almost to my shoulder right now. If I bring this back and then come back, that same movement, here, I gotta recenter the camera now. Oh, I hit the wrong button. There we go. Now, in that same movement, putting my chin back against my shoulder, you can see how much further we got. But you can actually do even less than. If I want to, for example, only move my head about 20 degrees, I am still very much so looking and facing the screen. I'm looking about the right side of my screen right now. Okay, so this determines how far do you have to turn your head. And if I turn my head to 27.2 degrees, I will get 148 degrees of rotation. Okay, so I want to kick that back up about where it was. Okay, let's recenter that camera again. There we go. And there. And then the response softness. This is going to be how gentle the curve is going to be. So if I click this down to 0, you can see it's actually very rapid. Now if we gently increase, you see it, like I'm barely turning my head, and look what we're getting. So if we kick that back up, let's go like 70, see what we get. You get a much smoother, much more natural rotation. And then of course you can set a dead zone. Like if you don't, like in this, I'm just barely moving my head left and right, barely turning it left and right. If you want to set a dead zone, say 5 degrees, as long as I stay within that 5-degree line, like right now I'm shaking my head slightly back and forth, notice the camera isn't moving. I'm going to keep shaking my head, and now you guys can see it moving again. Okay, so it really just depends. That's what the dead zone does. Invert is if you are turning your head to the left but the camera goes to the right, you would flip the inversion on. Okay, So I'm pretty happy right here with my horizontal setup. So this is my yaw. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to bring that up. Now let's go to our vertical. Flip it on. Now I'm just going to sort of show you guys my numbers here because you guys got the principle. This is the same process for every single axis that we're going to go through. So now what I would do is I would look down, look up. Up is definitely significantly better, but we still get more than enough in the down position. Now I am going to kick that up again, just like we did before. Get a little bit smoother on the rotation there. Down is always the hardest part. And the one recommendation that I would ask of beam is to now that you've gotten in the individual axis here, break them in half as well. Add the ability to do non-linear configuration. So that way you can set your up rotation versus the down. Because as you can see here, I've got my chin almost to my chest, and I'm not getting anywhere near as high as I get when I pick my head up. Okay? And so that non-linear configuration would be really helpful, and that is one of the advantages that you can still do in OpenTrack. Okay? But for all intents and purposes, this is what I'm happy with. I'm going to turn that off, and now I'm just going to sort of show you guys what we have set here. So this is, I am going to bring that up. I would recommend always having whatever softness you choose match across all. Otherwise, you're going to get a different response based on which axis you turn, and it could start to feel weird. So here, this is our roll. Literally rolling your head left to right. Okay. Then here, we're going to have our X position. This is sliding left and right. Okay, as you would. I just left that at default. I was perfectly fine with it at default. Although, again, we'll match the smoothness. So the camera feels a bit more natural no matter what direction we go in. Your Y-axis is exactly what it sounds like. Scooting down, standing up, peeking up over the top. This is one that can sometimes drive people nuts if you have it set too high, so be aware of that. For example, if we turn that up a bit higher, you may find yourself... Oh, wait, sorry. If I take it down, that's what I wanted. You may find yourself getting way more of a response than you want by simply moving your head. Okay, so I can't remember what I had that. I think I had that in the 20s, right? Right about there. Okay, and then again, same stuff here. We're going to set that smoothness. And the last one is your Z-axis. And Z-axis is simply leaning into the screen, leaning away from the screen. Okay, so that is your zoom. So if I want to lean in to look at my altimeter, I literally just lean in. Okay, you saw the camera jump a little bit. Admittedly, it is rather dark in my room. And that is one of the drawbacks that we're going to talk about here in just a second. But now let's bring it all together. When we bring it all together, you now have your setup ready to roll. Zoom in or reset, looking down. So like I said, it would be nice if they increased the down. So let's add a bit more pitch. Let's reduce the head movement required for pitch, because that's what's causing some of the problem here. So now, there we go. So now if I want to just look down, but again, I'm getting a lot of rotation now. So again, this is where you start tweaking. Give yourself a good baseline. Still too much. You'd be surprised how little you need when it comes to the pitch in these simulators. And there we go. That's pretty comfortable. So what I would do next, okay, I'm not going to make you guys go through it. I'm not trying to make the video nine years long for you guys. My recommendation, once you have this set up, whether it be your eye tracking and head tracking, however you have your baseline, then what you would do is leave this up and then walk through your startup process. Walk through your combat process. If you're doing something like DCS World, if you're racing, put yourself in a race and then just, in a quick test lap and just sort of decide, is it comfortable? And you start tweaking the different axes. You start feeling where it might feel weird. Maybe you need a little tweaking. Maybe you need some sensitivity increase. Maybe you need some more smoothness. Like, for example, we could take this and bring that up a little bit, and that will reduce a lot of the jitters that has to do with the small head movements. I do wish that they would get rid of that. The indicator when you reset the camera, I don't like that. I wish they would get rid of that. But this is where I would come in and start working on certain things here. You can also increase the overall speed if it's too slow for you. And then on top of all the other settings you have, you can increase the amplification, and literally increases the response time of everything around it. So I'll go ahead and turn that off so I don't drive you guys crazy with it. I hope you guys found this video useful. Beam Eye Tracker is a very, very good software. I have been using it ever since they launched. Anytime I'm in 2D and I'm using head tracking, Beam is what I am using. I'm very impressed with this new release. I think they've done a fantastic job with this. I've been doing head tracking, like I said, for a very long time, back in the days of TrackIR 4. So it is very nice not having to have any kind of dedicated hardware that you have to wear. Having that free head movement is very nice. It's very handy. The eye tracking with a webcam, though, again, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Is it as good as something like Tobii that's dedicated for eye tracking, that has dedicated eye tracking hardware? Probably not, but I'll tell you right now with these latest releases, it's damn close. And I think for somebody who, if you could push that aside, if you were a current Tobii user or previous Tobii user and you were to push that out of your mind for a minute, you'd have a hard time telling the difference after you got it tweaked and set up right. So just like anything else, it does have its configuration curves, right? You got to take the time, you got to set it up, you got to make it comfortable. And even though they have the ability to share profiles, I personally would never. I'm all about doing exactly what I just showed you guys. I want to make it comfortable for me. Things that you want to be aware of: larger screens, you're going to be having a completely different configuration than smaller screens. Lighting, you don't have to have like a super bright room, right? This room right now, you guys saw that one little jitter where it hiccuped. And that was because I put my hand in front of the light source and blocked the camera for a second on accident. I was lifting my head up to grab something. Anyway, digress. But all in all, it is an absolutely fantastic software that doesn't require a ton of light. You know, your standard bedroom light, 99% of the time will work just fine. If you have, especially if you have a white light's gonna, I found, definitely works better than the old yellow lights that we all used to have in our houses. So things like that to be aware of. Any kind of reflective surfaces behind you, if you have a window directly behind you that has a lot of sunlight coming through it, and I mean like direct sunlight, if you have a mirror or anything like that, or a TV that's large and behind you that could cause reflection, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Things like that will absolutely cause a problem. But the thing about that is, I will tell you that I don't know of a piece of hardware that doesn't cause a problem with. TrackIR, having a window, bright light, reflective source behind you can cause a problem. Tobii, having a bright light, window source, TV, something like that behind you can cause a problem. I've seen it with all of it. Even VR inside-out tracking has the same issue, and base tracking. So that's just a nature of the game with no matter what you get. So that's not restrictive to this. I just wanted you to be aware that is something you want to consider when setting yours up. The other thing that I really appreciate about Beam is you can put your camera anywhere as long as it can see you. You can pretty much set it however you want. Of course, extreme limitations apply. So as always, guys, again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay safe and healthy. Link to Beam down in the description below, and I'll catch you in the next one.